Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet, and today I have a great talk with Stephen Russell Black, who's a really excellent artist, painter. He's been on the show before, and he's gone full-time since we had him on before. Before he was working a day job, and he's coming on to tell the tales of working as a full-time artist, and lots of shop talk on this episode too. And you know how much I like that, painting shop talk and stuff. So that's coming up. And let's see what's been going on with me. I got this commission up here. The Night, Death, and the Devil by Albert Dürer. It's based on a famous engraving he did. It's amazing engraving, so I'm kind of doing my oil painting version of that. What else? That's pretty much it. Oh, my roof is almost done, thank God. So that's good, although insurance didn't cover the entire amount, so I'm gonna have to come up with a few grand in the next 30 days, but that's another issue altogether. I'm glad to have the roof on. It's looking great. These guys busted their asses. Really amazing crew. Let's see. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/darkartsociety and join for as little as $1. If you join at the $5 and above level, you get a 30% discount code for a Skull Shop skull. And oops, the jaw came off. This is a Skull Shop skull. They look amazing. I use them for all my paintings, and the jaws are articulated, so they come off, they open and close. They're really amazing. So that's SKULLSHOPPE.com. Oh, also, I just put this in the web store. Help cover my roof. I have some more. I'm doing some more subtractive painting, oil sketches. Where did my black light go? Damn it. Anyway, the pupil on the eye glows in the dark. Oh, there it is. Check this out. Oop. There you go. Joyful Cyclops. It's in the web store. Only $700, 11 by 14. You can pay a little extra to get it framed too. If you want to see what I'm up to, all this, everything I'm working on, I post just about every day on my Patreon. It's patreon.com/ChetZar. And you can join that for as little as $1. Now, our final ad read for the Beautiful Bizarre Art Prize. Now, the deadline's coming up on July 17th, so make sure you get your entries in before then. Entries are now open for the 2025 Beautiful Bizarre Art Prize. There's like $77,000 worth of cash and prizes, which is amazing. They got categories covering sculpture, photography, digital art, drawing, painting, and a separate emerging artist award as well. That alone, I would have, loved to have had this option when I was an emerging artist and starting out. I highly recommend it. You don't need to submit physical artwork. It's all done online. There's a whole bunch of cash and prizes, and you get a chance to exhibit in the Beautiful Bizarre magazine exhibition at Haven Gallery in Northport, New York in October 25. And they're a great gallery as well, reputable gallery. Everyone on the Beautiful Bizarre team looks at the work that's submitted. It's guaranteed, so it's really a good way to get your work in front of eyes of people that can potentially further your career. They're also sharing a bunch of the entries, so they have a huge account on Instagram, so they'll be sharing images of the work submitted. So it's a really good deal. It's Beautiful Bizarre is a great group of people, great magazine, and yeah, it ends on July 17th is the last day to register, or that's the ending date, and you can just go to beautifulbizarreartprize.art. That's beautifulbizarreartprize.art, and get your entries in because it's coming up quick, July 17th. All right. That's it. So I guess that's all. Let's get on with the interview. It's really great one. Enjoyed talking with him. Stephen Russell Black. And again, lots of shop talk if you like shop talk about painting and stuff. I learned a few things from him. during this interview. All right, here we go. I hope you like it. Welcome back, Stephen.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. Thanks for coming on. What's it been? 3 years? 2 years?
Yeah.
I can't remember it. Everything seems like, 6 months ago to me now.
Yeah.
It's like time.
I don't know if it was pre-pandemic or if it was just after. I can't remember if that part.
Yeah. Well, when did you? Yeah. Well, things have changed quite a bit for you. I mean, you were not full time when we talked last, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's can you also there's so many new listeners now that we're on YouTube, if you could just give a quick artist origin story, and then I want to get into your whole new trajectory in your art life, which is exciting.
Sure. So I grew up in a small town in Cambridge, Ohio. Kind of my only exposure to art was like the comics rack at like the local 7-Eleven. That was my first experience of like, oh, cool, I like art, and going to the used bookstore as a kid and getting this Stephen King book, The Stand, with Bernie Wrightson illustrations in it.
Oh yeah,
kind of. That was the first time that like creepy things, but illustrated beautifully, like tickled some part of my brain that like I've been chasing that feeling like ever since.
What age was that, you think?
What's that?
What age do you think that was?
Oh man, like 12, 13. It's like pretty young.
Just the right age.
Yeah. And so I think I've been chasing that kind of feeling of creepy thing, but painted or like illustrated beautifully, like as a theme. Mm-hmm. But I went to Columbus College of Art and Design, which was the big art school in Ohio that I had access to like going to, and I had some amazing teachers there. But there weren't a lot of opportunities in Ohio, so I had a friend who lived in California, and I worked for FedEx at the time. And FedEx has a rule that you can move anywhere in the world as long as you're moving laterally. Like I was an assistant manager like there, and I could move within the company. So there was an opening in California in Sausalito, and my friend lived in Sausalito. And so I transferred myself within the company and got myself to California, and then to explore like more art stuff. And then I've been here since 2005, and just like kind of doing the art stuff on the side. And then maybe 10 years ago, like when I was 35, I got super serious. And I had a graphic design job during the day, and then I work on my paintings in the morning before I went to work, and at night. I
remember talking about that.
Yeah, and on the weekends. And I did that for like 7 to 10 years before I finally made the leap to doing art full time.
Yeah, that's the same. That was me too. I think it was 7 years before I did the full-time thing.
Yeah. And I probably would have stayed at the design job, except I got laid off. And
same here. Exactly the same. I was wanting to get out, but it was like, I don't know that I would have had the courage to do it on my own.
Same.
You know what I mean?
I was saving, and I was like doing things like I was putting things in the position to like put myself in a good position to take the leap. Okay. But there's never a good time to do that. Really. And so if I hadn't have lost that gig, like I don't know that I would have even tried. And then what's funny is the day I got let go, 2 days later, I had a show on that weekend, and I made like $2,000 in like 4 hours at a pop-up art show. Like, this is gonna be fine. This is gonna be all right.
Piece of cake.
Yeah. Now they're not always that
right. Right. Yeah, but, there's such a thing as beginner's luck too. That's the thing. You can't really judge your whole career off of a good beginning, but that's good though. That is a good sign.
I feel like it was a good sign from the universe to be like, yeah,
totally,
you're gonna be okay.
Totally. That's awesome. So when did you go full time? You just got laid off. How long ago was this?
It was April of 2022.
Oh, okay.
So it's been 3 years now.
Wow. Okay. How's it been?
It's been good. I mean, this year's been crazy because it's a down year and things are weird and in general. But overall, really, really good, really positive. And so it's good.
Yeah. But you've been able to make it work. So, I mean,
yes,
it must be.
And I've heard you speak before. it is sort of a like nothing works this like you'll figure out something, you're like, okay, this is what I do, this is how things work, and then that thing will stop working. And you're like, okay. So you're constantly doing like releasing new things or doing new stuff. And when things get like too, I feel like in my head things get too complicated, I try to boil things down to like the simplest terms as possible, and it kind of makes me feel a little better. And the thing I do is as an artist, I feel like you have two jobs. All I can control is I can make amazing work and try to get it seen. And everything else past that is really completely beyond my control.
Right.
And so if I just focus on making good stuff and trying to get people to, eyeballs on it, that's the most I can do. And either, people will come to it and support it, or, like there's not a lot, I can't control the other things. So worrying about them doesn't help. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Even I believe on a cosmic level, however you want to say it, personally, I believe this, that you, when you're worrying about stuff, you're actually creating the things you're worrying about. If you focus too much on it, you're kind of on this other level, making that stuff happen in a way. So it's really like, you have to learn to like grin and bear it and just like give up to the universe in a way. Like, okay, I give up. I trust you. It's all going to work out. And that kind of, to me, I think that leads you on a path of allowing in more opportunities. I don't know. It just seems like it's worked that way in my life. I know the more I worry, the worse things seem to get, and the more that I would not be worried, things seem to work out better. So, I mean, even if you're not into the spiritual stuff, I think on a psychological level, it's probably true also, Yeah.
It sort of feels like, I'm not super into the like woo-woo kind of stuff, but like whenever things have been explained to me, I'm like, I can't say that it's wrong either.
Right.
Right. So, the thing about manifesting, I think that can happen in reverse too. If you're negative all the time,
totally,
or you're thinking about stuff all the time, and you're constantly like voicing or thinking about these negative things that could happen, you're also manifesting negative shit to happen. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. I mean, I've known, and I think everybody's known a person like this. I've known a few that were just constantly complaining and constantly just bitching about everything, and they kept getting screwed over. Yeah. Over and over. These things kept happening to them, and then they would complain more, and it would seem like just out of control snowballing effect that these people are just like in this downward spiral they can't get out of because they can't get out of that negative thought loop,
Totally. I know from my own personal experience that anxiety and that negative thinking would then lead me to take leaps that were not even true. Like, oh, that person doesn't like me, or they don't like me.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then it would create these barriers to relationships where people are like, well, that guy's an asshole. And I'm like, well, I'm not. I just like this whole thing was getting built up. And so to clear that stuff away is really important. Oh,
yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how life works.
Negative self-talk can definitely add up and be a terrible thing. So,
yeah. It's like, I think as an artist in this society, we have so much already against us. The fact that we're doing kind of luxury items in a way that aren't totally necessary, and the fact that, a lot of people don't really respect art or artists, and it's kind of this archaic thing. It's not, especially oil painters or any kind of painters. It's like, this is old. It's not relevant anymore. There's a lot going against us. It's hard to earn a living. And then on top, adding self-doubt on top of that, and constant negative self-criticism. Like self-criticism is a good thing as long as you're not, if you're going to self-criticize, you have to do the same amount of patting yourself on the back too. I feel like I don't think it's bad to critique your own work, to want to get better at it. But if you're just constantly beating yourself down, that's just not a recipe for success.
Yeah. No, it's definitely important to celebrate your wins too.
But yeah, definitely.
To take a moment and celebrate when things are going well, or when you have a win. Like that's important.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And also, another thing, it's like I found like obviously I've had these ups and downs in my career where it's like, it just seems like, it's going to be like this every time it happened in the past, except now I'm not that way anymore because I learned my lesson. But every time it seemed like money was good, I would be like, I finally made it and this is it. I don't have to worry anymore. And then it'd be, a few months later, it's like, oh shit, I'm broke again. And this just would happen over and over. So it's like, I always feel gratitude and appreciation when things are going well, but I also don't try and grab it and hold on to it and fear losing it.
Yeah.
Because I think because that's a kind of a very Zen thing too, where it's like they say, no grasping, you can't grasp. Once you start grasping on, the thing goes further away.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be letting go and trusting. And so I show gratitude, appreciate the wins, but I don't get attached to them. That's the Buddhist thing. It's like non-attachment,
Yeah.
So you're not chasing anything, you're sort of letting your life unfold in this natural way. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah.
So
but it's kind of like if you were a cyclist or a boxer or whatever, all you can control is like putting your time in on the bike or putting your time in at the gym.
Right.
It's kind of things like, right. Like putting in your practice, like getting in the hours of repetition of doing the thing.
Yeah.
You can't pick which opportunities are going to come to you and not. And
yeah, right.
Things. So that's why when I limit everything down to like, just make good work and try to get it seen, like, I don't know, it has a calming effect for me.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah. It's just, the struggle is having that attitude when you've got some huge bill sitting there
when shit's falling apart.
Yeah, and you don't have the money to pay it. It's weird. It's like you have to. It's really like a form, some kind of form of like. It's almost like a discipline. It's like, okay, I've got this big scary thing over here, and I have to. It kind of like puts you to the test. Like, okay, you're really not attached. Sit with this for a while. You have a week. There's this huge bill, and you don't even have half of what you need to pay, and it's coming up, but you can't panic because that's not going to do any good. If anything, it's going to make it worse. So
right.
It's like you have to really.
Then you get all worked up and you can't work, and then you're like freaking out.
Right.
And you need to be working, but yep.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But if you could just like, I don't know. I keep saying the word trust, but you sort of like. Trust reality, I guess, that like you said, you might want to step it up during those times where it's like, okay, I need to get the work out there to more people and stuff like that, and you surf the waves and just kind of go with it. It's a crazy lifestyle
for sure.
Yeah.
Also, the before I had this idea that like, okay, well, if I was, and I'm sure there are a lot of listeners that are in the same boat right now, you felt like if you could just go full time, you'd have all this amount of time that would fix all of the problems. And so, I'd have so much more time to. No. Getting to go full time is just the first layer of the onion that are so many more problems.
Oh man, yeah, I did. One of my Instagram videos did really well. I've every so often, I don't know if you've seen these rant videos I do, ranting about the algorithm, which was like a total organic thing. It was not a contrived thing at all. It's kind of just ridiculous. It's stupid that it works, and it just kind of proves my point about how social media is now. But one of the first ones I did that took off was, when I used to work my day job, I'd work from 9 to 5, and then I'd come home and work on my paintings, and then on the weekends I'd work on my paintings. And now that I'm full-time, I work on my business stuff from 9 to 5, and I work on my paintings on nights and weekends. It's exactly the same.
Yes.
It's just like it ends up being exactly the same. You still
don't
work
have more time.
No, you have less time in a way, because it's like when you have a day job, I really have come around to appreciating people that have day jobs and do have a professional, maybe more slower career, slower moving. I really appreciate that because I've seen both sides of it now, and it's just a grind. It's really hard work to do to do, the full-time thing. So it's like, I give that advice. That's a good option, is having a job that if you could stand your job, and it pays well, it's okay. You can do it. You can,
the one I always recommend too is when you're in the middle of that, is try to pick a job that somehow not only is a monetary like benefit, but is somehow benefiting the thing you want to do also.
Right.
I would always pick jobs that like somehow would help the art thing. So I worked at FedEx so I could have free access to the computers and learn myself Photoshop and
that's cool.
Use their printers and print my own prints and do like, right. So and then I worked at I managed an art supply store for a while. So free supplies.
Oh, cool.
And then the last thing before I went full time was as a graphic designer, I got access to like printing my own stuff, like at this larger commercial kind of printer.
Yeah.
But that's another good tip is if you have a day gig, like make sure that day gig is something that is also feeding your art career in some other way than just a monetary, like hourly thing. I always tried to do.
Yeah. Well, being in makeup effects was kind of like perfect to go into. That's part of the reason I went into the fine art career, because I had so much on the job training for like 15 or 20 years or however long I was in there. And it's art related, but I don't know. I still feel kind of like, looking back, I feel kind of bad how much I wanted to leave it. And, I feel like I kind of took that career for granted in a way.
You feel like you finished that chapter in your life, like getting to do things you wanted. Did you?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Was still something you had wanted to do in that?
No. I got to sculpt. I never wanted to sculpt like the main character in a movie. I didn't really care about that. It was more like I wanted to sculpt the coolest character or a really cool zombie, or all the little things on my list I had checked off.
Yeah.
But as a job, it was such a good job. It really was a great job. It paid well, and it was just, you get to sculpt monsters and stuff all day and just listen to music or listen to podcasts. I mean, it's pretty damn good. But man, it was just something I had to do. I just felt like I had to do it because I just was not. It just drove me crazy. It just drove me crazy, especially when I started selling at first. And I was like, every day I'd be like, man, I could be home painting right now. My stuff's selling and I'm just sitting here for 8-9 hours or whatever.
Yeah. That's another, when kids at shows, like when I'm doing art shows and kids will come up and ask me for advice and stuff. One of the biggest ones I give them is like, when you have to have a day gig, and the whole day you have this itching feeling of like, I should be doing this other thing that I love. Like I should really be doing, like, I don't want to be here. I want to be. So I always combat that when I was at the day gigs, is that, what does it mean to be a painter? Is that you painted today, right? Like I painted today, I'm a painter. So I would get up at 5 a.m. and paint for the first 2 hours of the day before I went to the graphic design job. And so then the rest of the day I'd be like, doesn't matter what happens the rest of today. I fucking painted for 2 hours. I'm a painter. That's what was important. Like, you feel great. And those 2 hours every day, like really add up to producing lots of stuff. I was producing so much stuff that people thought I was full-time before I ever was.
Right. Yeah. I assumed you were full-time when I interviewed you last time, before you told me. That's great. That's really good advice. Not for the night owls. That was a problem with me.
Yeah,
I would do that, but it would be late, and then I would be coming in late to work, or I'd be super tired because I was working late at night. But
then you still got that great feeling of like having completed something the night before, right?
Yeah. And I would bring my I was working in an art studio, basically. FX is like a big art studio, and so I would bring my little travel easel, and I would paint at lunch. And then I'd go home and I'd paint some more, and then I would paint on the weekends. And, that's, you have to, if you want to make this a career, you have to want it so bad that you'll paint during your lunch hour instead of going out with your friends and hanging out, and that you'll do it at night or wake up at 5 a.m. and put 2 hours in, and do it on the weekend. And it's like, if you don't want to do it that badly, then it's probably not a good career for you. And there's nothing wrong with not making a career out of art. I feel like I was thinking about this recently, that I really do feel like art or creativity, art in some way everyone should be doing it just for fun because it's so fun. If it's music or dancing or whatever you do, like creative work, I think that would kind of change the world if it was like part of the culture to do something creative. You know, I think that would be such a good thing for humanity because it's so much fun and it relaxes you and it makes you feel good and it's makes you feel proud of yourself that you made something, even if it's not good. It doesn't matter. It's more about doing it. You know,
it's like huge community building too, right? Because it's like
right.
The easiest way to connect to somebody else is to try to see their perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever you create something visually, like you're literally showing someone your perspective, and so people get to live out different perspectives by creating things. And I think that's a huge thing too.
Yeah.
Because you might be stuck and you're like, this is how things work. And then once you start creating stuff and realizing like, well, I can make things work however I want. You know, like you think it's kind of cliche, but you start literally thinking outside the box and like different solutions and kind of things.
Yeah.
And so if you're more business minded or left brain thinking kind of person and you have to then start thinking creatively, it can totally help your other like life as well.
Right. Yeah. And that's the same goes the other way too, as far as like most artists that are trying to make a career, learning the business thing. Nobody wants to do it, but it really is to your own benefit. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, for me, I can only talk for myself, but I think it was more like the fear of not knowing that kept me from really embracing the business part in the beginning. It's like, I don't know anything and I'm not interested. That doesn't help much. But once you start you see sales happening, then you start to become more interested and you're like, oh, okay. And then you can, and then I feel like, you know, if you can have the discipline to do the business stuff, then you could start using your creative muscles to up your sales game and your business game, because you could start thinking creative solutions to business problems, you know. So you use that creative part to, you know, make a living, and that's not so bad. You're still being creative. It's just with something you don't really care that much about.
Yes. I had a really great partnership. Some of the relationships I had built at the print shop were lots of different kinds of people from all different kinds of backgrounds. But one of them was an accountant. And so the first year I did the jump to full time, I really ate it in taxes. Like I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to write things off. And I paid way too much. And so I called her up and was like, this is what's happening. And she's like, oh my gosh. So she sent me a PDF right away of like all the things I could write off. And the things she got me to love spreadsheets. And so she's like, if you don't know the numbers, you can't push hard on different parts to improve your business. Yeah. So it started becoming this like fun game of like the business financial part of it almost became like as fun or like, you know, a game as the creative side of it. Because you got to see the numbers improve like dramatically when you pushed in a certain area or it was cool. Yeah. It's kind of that fear. For me, it's that fear of do I really want to look at where the money's going and how much is coming in and how much I'm going to owe? But it's like, but sometimes it's really surprising to go, well, I could just make this change here.
Right.
Create such a huge impact, right?
Yeah. And I found it really alleviates the anxiety when you can see it all in front of you and you go, oh, okay, I can see what's going on here.
The monster you can see is way less scary than the one you can't, right?
Totally. Yes, exactly. We know that better than anybody. Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I once I learned spreadsheets, it's like, this is life-changing.
Totally.
Google Sheets. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's so easy and like, oh my God, this is great. It's like now I've got all my commissions on a spreadsheet and whether they're started and if I got paid yet or how much I got. It's just like such a great organizational tool.
It helps you so much, right? To go, because one of the odd things as any small business or self-employed person is like, you're like, okay, I only have so much time through the day. And there's only so many things I can like push on or try to like put effort towards. And so sometimes the spreadsheet like really clarifies like, oh, I should be working in this area, or I should be doing this to like improve. So it can clarify quite a bit. I mean, there's still days where I'm like, I don't know what I should work
Yeah.
on today because there's just it's overwhelming.
That's the worst. That's the worst when you have so much, you don't know which thing to do first, and then you
Yes.
just don't do anything, and you sit there. It's the worst feeling.
Usually, I'm pushing the chess piece that is going to make the biggest impact right away. Or at least
Right.
trying to.
Yeah.
But sometimes things are very ambiguous, right? Like you don't know which project or which thing is going to hit or be like the next like big thing for you. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's very hard to decide what to put your efforts towards. I don't know if
Right.
you still have that feeling or not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then sometimes you are like, oh, this is the thing that always works for me, and you go and do it, and it doesn't work this time, and you're just
Yes.
like, what the fuck? But yeah, it's a crazy life. You know, it's funny because as artists, we are naturally good at daydreaming and all these, letting our minds wander and, kind of just thinking of cool ideas and doodling, all these like disorganized types of things or things that don't require organization skills. You know, creativity doesn't really require organization skills. It's like, you can kind of doodle wherever you want at any time within a moment's notice. You can daydream and think of ideas when you're standing in line at the store or whatever. And it's so, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but it's such a different skill set that it feels like, for me, it felt like for me, like I'm just a disorganized person. I can't do this. I'm just not organized. And it's like, you can be organized. I'm not saying I'm super organized, but I'm way more organized than I used to be. And it's just like a skill like any other that you can learn. Like how I always talk about going to the galleries at first by myself when I was trying to network, which was, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't talk to people. I'm too shy. I'm not good at speaking to people. And it's like, you learn that skill by just making yourself do it, basically.
Yeah. That's still something the socializing, the networking part is still something that I not great at.
Yeah. I feel like I can do it now, but it's still not comfortable for the most part.
Yeah.
It's an effort. That's why those conventions to me are so draining.
They are.
They're exhausting. But they're
also, I think most of us are introverts at heart. But if you get us in a room talking about the thing that we love, we all open up and become like,
oh yeah,
you like this thing too?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I do love.
And they're exhausting in a good way, right? Like
right. Right. But they're also like, I mean, that's the one thing I regret about not doing conventions. I haven't done since COVID. And, I don't like that I haven't been out there like meeting fans, because that's the biggest and most important part, I think. And I do have shows every year usually, so that's kind of the and then group shows I'm at. So I am out there, but when you have a lot of people coming to your booth and you have to talk to them, you have to be like upbeat and energetic, and you want to make them feel, you value. I'm sure this is the same for you or any artist, really, is like you appreciate them, that they're coming to see you. That's like such an honor. So you want to make sure they feel like you care and you're paying attention to what they're saying, because because you appreciate it. But it's hard to do over and over. It takes a lot of energy. That's all I can say but at the end of the day, you're just like, that was great, but man, I'm so tired, and I got to go two more days of this.
Yeah. I feel like it's always really tired in like a good way though, because you're sitting at home, just sitting here like painting on the thing, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I don't know if anyone cares or whatever, you're a thing, right? Like no matter what level you're at, you still have that feeling of like, well, does this matter? Is this thing I'm doing matter?
Right.
But then you go to the show and you get to hear this feedback of how it touched someone. And then it's like, it's really gratifying to like know that you're like, that it's connecting with people.
Yeah. And you're not just doing it entirely for yourself. And
I sometimes would have like a down day at a show, and I got really scared because I was so nervous that you don't like, so the people coming up to the booth, like you don't know like their background, where they are, how long they followed you or not, or well, so it could be someone who's followed you for like 10 years. They just now got the courage to like come to the show,
Right.
say hello. And if I'm having a bad day and that day I happen to like, not interact with them well, but that
Oh
person followed me
man.
for
Yeah.
10 years and it's the one time they got to meet me.
I know.
I feel like a complete asshole if like I didn't make that be like a really great experience for them.
Right.
They are so meaningful to me. So yeah, you can't have an off day. You got to be
No.
you got to
Yeah.
be present and there for them. And why
Yeah.
wouldn't you be? Because they're coming to see you and
Yeah.
you're getting to share your work. So it's like such an honor to get to do that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's again, that's a skill too. That's a skill in itself, and
It is.
you have to, no matter how you're feeling, you have to pull it out of yourself. Because it's in there, that friendliness and
Yeah, my wife always tells me that I talk too much, but I'm just so excited that someone comes to the table, and they usually ask really great questions too. They're like, "How do you this certain technique?" And then I want to just feed them every bit of knowledge that I have, like after they
Right.
ask like a great question, because I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, not only do you care, but that was a great question. I'm gonna
Yeah.
feed you all the info." Like,
That's so cool about what I've noticed, at least in our art scene. I mean, I can't vouch for the entire art scene of the world, but in fact, my dad used to tell me when I first started bringing him to group shows, and that I was introducing him to this art scene, this underground art scene in LA, and he just couldn't believe it. He's like, "Man, when I was coming up in the 60s, artists were like stabbing each other in the back and climbing over each other." And he's like, "You guys are all helping each other." It just is blowing his mind. But
do you think that? Sorry, I was gonna say, do you think that started with like Robert Williams and like how?
I don't know. He's really like that too. I just, actually kind of hung out with him a little bit at Chris Velasco's, the last art barbecue he had, and he was there. And he's so, he never talks shit about other artists, even like abstract or stuff that he doesn't really care for. I've seen him, he's like, I forgot what he said. I'll never talk about another artist because I know how hard it is to make it. But he's super open.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how it started, but
I always feel like, and I've met Robert several times, and I always try to tell him like none of us would have any sort of career if it wasn't for you. And
everybody tells him that too. It's like,
really
I told him that, and I've seen people tell him that, so he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. He definitely knows.
It's funny. The last time I saw him was in LA at the Oddities convention, and I was mentioning that to him again, and he goes, "Can you tell my wife how great I am?" And I was like, I would be happy to. I'd be happy to. I'm sure she knows. I'm sure she knows.
She was there, and she was telling me how much it means to him and how much it means to both of them.
He's always so warm. Like I've met him like 3 different times, and he's been so welcoming and warm to me, and like he's amazing.
Yeah.
But I feel like this whole scene is like really from Robert.
Definitely
doing the stuff that he did like early on.
Yeah.
When there wasn't a thing, just showing paintings at punk rock shows, and
Yeah, he was talking all about that. He was telling us all about that. He was like, I'd put him in these punk rock shows, and how he was selling them for these paintings for cheap. And really amazing. What a guy. What a guy.
He's a good example of just make amazing work and try to get it seen anywhere, and people will connect to it and start supporting you. Like, you
gotta work hard. That's why you're going to be working 7 days a week. So, it should be something you want to do so bad that you work on it 7 days a week. All your free time spent not doing it. You have to kind of be obsessed by it, I feel like, But I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well.
Do you feel like, as I've told you this before, but I feel like your new the flower skull paintings are like a next level for you. I don't know how to describe it, but like the level of detail and craft and like they just feel like you really pushed like for a little bit higher of a.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but they feel like a next step for you. They're amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. It was they. I feel that way too.
Good.
And it's like, I've always been a tight painter naturally, and with my monster stuff, I've always been like, I don't know. I had it in my head that looseness is better than tightness, right? Because that's how the academic painters are like this people that just worship Sargent.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There's also a school of thought with like Jean-Laurent Jerome. Jerome's like paintings like
I know the
bit
name.
smaller and they're super detailed. He kind of gets lumped into like Orientalist like sort of body of work, but he was a French painter, and super detailed. So I feel like there's a tradition for us to look back.
Yeah.
And be like, it's legit to render the shit out of everything too.
Definitely.
That's how I love to do things.
Yeah, right. And Robert Williams is another example of someone
Sure.
his paintings are super tight and Mark Ryden, all these people that inspired me to first start painting are like that. Giger and Beksinski and stuff. But nevertheless, I always felt, and it was my own kind of, I don't know, my own problem that I felt like what I was doing wasn't good enough. So I would always try and loosen things up, and it was good for me because it was a way of painting that wasn't natural to me. So it made me, work on those muscles and get better at it, and it helped me to develop a style where it's kind of like tight where it needs to be and loose around the edges, and with these skull flower paintings, I'm just like, I just feel like they look really cool when I tightly render them. Mm-hmm. I don't think they would look as cool if they were loosely painted. I just feel like that even the black background, it's just simple, and I don't know. I just feel like
You get a little bit of give and take with because I notice you render like the skull super hard, and then you'll let the flowers be a little softer, which kind of feels, goes with the feeling of realism in those two subjects, right? Because the skull, you want to see all the hard edges, and then the flowers are going to be soft anyway.
Yeah,
it's a cool juxtaposition, the two together. Also, like
I think it's like it's a simple idea that it's like life and death. It's simple. Most people kind of, even though I didn't get it at first. It's like people were like, yeah, it's like life and death. I was like, oh yeah. But
you find sometimes, so I used to have this,
a lot of the time that people know the meaning, if that's what you're going to say, more than you do.
Yes, maybe. So I was really bad at this. People would come up to the booth and they would pick a certain painting and go like, oh, this is about, this, they'd say how they read into it. Right. Mm-hmm. And I had a very specific idea in mind that I was trying to say with the piece. And so if they weren't picking up on that, or they were coming at it from a different angle, I would be like, oh no, that's not right.
I failed.
Because I thought I failed. But it would turn them off because I was telling them, no, the thing that they connected to about the painting was not was not true. Mm-hmm. And so they would be kind of discouraged and walk away. And I only found through music a better way to think about it is like, there could be a song and the way you connect to it, it could be different than the way I connect to it, but we both might love it just as much.
Right.
So I'm like I'm being so dumb to like not let someone connect to the work. And so I'm much more excited. Like, yes, I'm going to have an intention and I'm going to set things up in a certain way. But if you interpret it differently and it's real personal to you, then I'm not going to say that reading or interpretation is invalid because I want you to love it. I want you to have space to live in the painting too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the trick is you have your idea, and the trick is painting it well enough to where it doesn't matter if the idea comes across or not, because it's still a badass painting.
Yeah.
And it still works compositionally, color wise, and it's still cool.
And if it works on many different levels,
Yeah.
even better.
I know. Right. And yeah, I've found that, I've always approached stuff like more intuitively than anything else, where I'm just not really thinking about meaning as much as I'm just want to make something cool that feels good.
Yeah.
And I've gotten the interpretations of other people and realized, oh yeah, that's what it's about. It's just like the skull flowers. It just didn't occur to me. It was a skull on my desk.
Yeah.
My wife gave me this flower from outside. Just wordlessly handed me this flower. I was like, oh, thanks. And I put it in the skull.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that looks cool. Took a picture, forgot about it. I said, this will make a cool painting. Took a picture, forgot about it. A year later, I had a deadline, one
your
week
initial
for a
connection
show.
was just that it was like aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then meaning like layered itself on it.
Yeah.
As you worked.
Yeah, it just didn't occur to me at all until someone said that. And I was like, it's obviously what it is, what the big obvious meaning is. It's like a dead thing and a live thing. And yeah, it's just funny how that, but I feel like I'm not smart enough to come up, or let me put it this way. My intelligence is more intuitive. Like I do better. I have better ideas when I sort of let my intuition guide the way. Like if I start trying to impose too much meaning onto something, I feel like I kind of mess it up for me as an artist. And I feel like I can't come up with as good ideas as this inner thing inside of me can. Like my subconscious comes up with better ideas than I do. So I'm like, okay, I want the paintings to be as good as possible. So I'm going to let it do its thing,
Do what you got to do.
Yeah, do what you got to do. It's like, every artist is different on how they approach their work. It's.
And so I sort of have two paths. I'll keep like a little notebook where like ideas will come to me and they're like, oh, you jot them down, or you'll be searching for ideas and these little thumbnails, and then they get transferred over to like a more finished drawing. And then that drawing gets transferred over to like a finished painting. But sometimes I skip the study part and just will start jumping in on a drawing. And it's a lot more improv kind of like thing. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with like that in a drawing step, because if it fails, I just go, oh, fuck it, throw it away and start again. If I were to jump in and just start painting and making up something, that's like so many days or hours that if it starts to go wrong and I have to throw that away.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But I'm okay with the like letting more play happen in the drawing phase. Sometimes can lead to these unexpected visual things that like I might not have come to consciously before.
Yeah, right.
And they're really cool.
Yeah. I love it when that. I mean, that to me, that's the magic part of it, is seeing something that you're like didn't even mean to do, and then realizing, oh, that's super cool.
You're also engaged the whole time. I don't know if you felt this, but like when you're doing those ones that are like more improv, where you do something and then what you do, you have to react to and then react to. Sometimes are way more fun for you, the process for you making, because the ones that you have a very clear idea and there's a little sketch and then you keep iterating on the thing. Sometimes when you get to the end, you've made the same image 3 times now. And you're just like, I'm just finishing the right.
Yeah, that's how the skull flowers are for me. But that's fun to me because but for my whole career, I've been doing more the loosey-goosey, let it develop thing, and being willing to change and blah, blah, blah. And these being restrictive and being, really I was tracing them, or it's funny. I had a realization the other day on the last skull flower I painted. I'm like, why am I tracing these? It's like, I know how to draw a skull, and it's like, if I have just the picture, I can easily draw it with the paint, and the flower's not that crazy. So I'm like, why am I taking the extra time to trace it? And so the last 2 I didn't trace it, but before, just for time's sake, because I guess it was because of time, I only had a week to do this original skull flower, and I projected it, and I drew it, I traced it with India ink, and just painted straight on like that, and it was such a breath of fresh air, just because it was so different from the way I had been doing it for so many years. It was like, oh, this is like paint by numbers, which I love paint by numbers when I was a kid. This is fun. It's like so stress-free. I throw a movie on. It's like, it looks really good. I get into the photographing reference part of it, which I never did before, unless it was like an ear or a hand or something at a weird angle I couldn't get, you know, but fuck,
Have you done any of those as an actual still life that you painted from? Because
I haven't yet.
It could be pretty fun to like have the skull and the flower set up because
definitely
they're ever changing, and so you would be rushing to like capture what was happening, and part of it might be from the time when it was fresh, and then part of it start to decay, which could also be another and beautiful as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I do want to set up. I've got a little spot over here that would be perfect for like a shadow box, and I do want to do that, but it's just so much more convenient.
And a lot of ideas don't lead themselves to that. If you have two people fighting or something, it's like you can't have those people posing for 5 hours a day or whatever. Yeah. But the skull flowers is something you could set up and just leave.
Yeah, yeah. And I got a bunch of fake flowers when I started doing them. I bought a bunch of really good fake ones so they don't die.
So that's going to look the same.
Yeah, and it's, you're just getting the basic shape and the shadow and the basic coloring. And then it's like for detail stuff, there's a million, pictures on the internet to just, to refer to. But,
another fun part of the job of being an artist or an illustrator or in any of the creative field is the like half of the excitement is getting to go do the research and do all of the stuff, right? Like I've been working on this series. Well, there's one behind me, but like the cicadas, that have been hatching out of like humans and stuff.
So cool, yeah.
Has led me to like researching tons of stuff about cicadas and because all the research that you do then leads to you like visualizing better ideas. You're like, oh, they actually, if you find out little details that you can incorporate into the pieces. And one of the things is I started taking the research a little more seriously, and I'm really into succulents right now. Mm-hmm. And so my wife and I went to the San Francisco Succulent Society, and we heard some talks about them growing in different things. And almost all succulents can get grafted, which is like they can chop off a pup of it and then like graft it together, and they can keep growing. So going to that show led me to do these like portraits of faces that were then connected to succulent roots and things, and just like so half of the fun. I think is like getting to do all that, like getting paid or it's part of your job,
right?
To go get to learn and do all of that research stuff. So fun.
Yeah, and you can write off things like your tickets to go to museum shows because you're.
I know you've got the skulls from the skull shop, but are you now obsessed with like finding cool flowers and things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My wife, I always have her looking for me, and she like saves all these pictures of really cool flowers. And
have you been down to the flower district in Los Angeles?
No, I haven't yet.
That would be a fun trip to just wander around.
I know, and just buy a bunch of stuff and have it all set up so I could take pictures. Yeah, I'm so into it. And it's just so funny because in the past when I was first starting especially, I would have been like, oh, that's boring. I want to do some crazy cool monster and make it up. And now to me it's like it's so fun to take something so simple and be creative with it and come up with a new idea of a really simple thing. That to me is more challenging than coming up with some crazy monster or something, at this point in my life.
Well, so a lot of times those are the most creative things, right? Is like if I tell you can I want to commission you to make a painting. Can be whatever color you want. You're immediately going to go, I don't know what color, right?
Yeah. Or you could do anything you want. Do whatever you want. It's like, I need some kind of starting point.
Right. But as soon as we get a couple of restrictions, a million ideas will come to mind.
Yeah.
You can only paint it in sepia, and it can only be like as soon as you give a couple of parameters, I have a ton of stuff to push back against, and I'll think of a million things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the issue I had when I first started painting. When I was like, I'm going to do this for a career, and I just sat down and I was like, I don't even know what to do. It was because I could have done anything, and it just took me, I don't know, a good year of messing around to figure out something to do.
When you first started, you just did a ton of group shows, right? Like you were out there doing the Cannibal Flower shows and
anything that came up. For sure. Just I'll put it at coffee shops and stuff like that. Anyone that would have me, I would show there. What is your process? I mean, you got to be using photo reference and stuff for your stuff, right?
Totally. So
are you photographing stuff yourself, or
both?
Do you hire models and have a setup, and how do you? I mean, that's like kind of a big thing on its own.
So lately, I find that the improv stuff I was doing for a long, long time was very found materials. Like I would, my own photographs and then stuff I would find. But like I don't have like tons of reference of a cicada, but that going down a rabbit hole of research, actually, like when this a couple years ago when the cicadas happened back in Ohio, which was where I'm from, people would send us boxes of the shells, and so I would have
wow.
things to look at and do stuff. Like, some of the some things you can get,
Yeah.
and then other things that are like I learned from Phil Hale, amazing painter,
Yeah.
to grab things from disparate locations that you wouldn't not have thought of. Like he has all these beautiful paintings of people fighting and smashing robots and stuff.
Yeah.
And the references for those were cricket players who were like smashing
Oh, wow.
a wicket with the thing. And so he would get the expressions and the tensions and the things. And so think about like if you wanted a guy with a sword, like yes, you could go get a guy to pose with a sword.
Yeah,
you
right.
could go study tennis players who are like smashing this thing like around, and you get these cool things. So you can find references from disparate locations that are going to be the exact thing that fit your need. But overall, lately the process has been I'm calling it writing, writing more, which is like little sketches in my sketchbook that like wouldn't even be like I wouldn't show anyone because they're like so crude that they wouldn't make sense to them, but they're the kernel of a little seed of an idea that means something to me. One I did recently was like a background that's like very industrial, and there's a kid at the edge of this industrial kind of area dipping his toe into like a lake, which is like he's daring, like, and so there's various levels to that, but it's like he's daring to get out of the boxed like thing and touch something that's organic, and so it has like a lot of more meaning. But doing those kind of writing things are helping me to come up with better ideas.
Yeah.
For pieces rather than just being very improv, like, hey, if I grab this screaming head and throw a thing, like
Right.
that's and you can do that a lot, and it can be cool many, many times over. But
It's just a different way of working.
It's a different way of working. That jazz improv kind of thing, you have to like find meaning in it, and then there's another way of like writing and planning things out to where you came up with the idea in the beginning. And for so long, I've been doing that improv thing that I'm more excited now about doing more writing stuff. So these little sketches, and then I'll go find the supplemental material to support the little sketch that I did, and that's when I do like a more finished drawing. And I always do the drawing first because it's just how I was taught. My illustration background is like thumbnails, go find the reference, get your layout together, do your final drawing, do your final value study, which since I'm working on the tone paper, my value study and my drawing are kind of the same step because it has so much value to it. But traditionally you would have done like a contour line kind of like simple drawing. And then on another step, you would have like filled it in like planning the lighting. And then maybe a color study, and then your final painting would be like a more traditional, like old-timey illustration process. So I'm doing the thumbnails in the book, which is I call writing, and then I'm finding my either shooting myself or like scouring through the internet, like finding just the right kind of lighting, or if I want a character hunched over, like I'm looking for tons of hunched over things, and maybe I'm photo collaging like many of those things together to get just the right thing, and then photographing someone and adding that to it too, but you don't want to be dictated to by the reference. You want the reference to support the idea that you had. So the sketchbooks are all just out of my head, no reference, like it's all stream of conscious, like kind of like playing and writing. And then you find stuff to support that, lay that all out. Maybe it's a Photoshop collage. A lot of people do Photoshop collage.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too.
Then that gets transferred over, or you use that as a basis and do a final drawing where everything is super planned out. And then that way, and I know you love the color studies. I haven't been doing them because all of my things are so like the drawing is so planned out value wise and like structural, like drawing wise, that I find if I do a color study and then the final painting, I sort of lose the play or my interest in the painting. And so for good and bad, if I don't do a color study, I get to like kind of play that stuff like as I'm going.
Right.
But sometimes that means I fucked up and I got to wipe it off and do it again. And then maybe a color study would have been helpful, but I feel like sometimes I come to like unusual color choices and things just by playing. But I'm still paying very close attention to my drawing step, which already has all the lighting figured out. Right. And so a lot of times, you can pick whatever colors you want as long as the values are correct.
Right. Yeah.
And it'll still work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But picking the right color combinations can also sometimes lead to a more emotional reaction or feeling in the viewer. Um, so that's helpful. But in general, you could pick whatever colors you want as long as the values are correct.
Yeah, that's that I don't know if you remember, I interviewed this guy Harley Brown. He's an old-time painter, illustrator. Really, this Canadian guy, really great. He just got some lifetime achievement award I saw, but it's like most people don't know about him. He's not, in the popular culture, but he's just this badass painter. He and a pastel artist, and he's got this book called. He's got two really good books that I think, I don't know if he didn't self-publish, but you have to get him through him now. Harley Brown's something things every artist. Oh man. Okay, I'm not. You
have to look it up, put it in the show notes there.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna look it up on my phone. And he's amazing, right?
Is it like a downloadable PDF or a book? Or
no, it's a book. Yeah, you should get it. It's so good. Harley Brown's Essential. Hold on, it'll come up. Shit. It's like I think it's Essential Truths for Every Artist or something. Harley Brown's Eternal Truths for Every Artist. Harley Brown's Eternal Truths for Every Artist. It's done in a really, he's funny. He's a funny guy, so it's very lighthearted. And
there's everyone's homework to go get a copy.
Yeah, yeah. It's so good. And one of the lessons in it is showing that. He shows how, as long as the values are correct, you can use any color. And he paints this beautiful woman with purples, all these weird purples and blues, and it looks amazing because the values.
And then if you have all that purple going on, if you use yellow for the highlights, then you're using the opposite color.
Right? Yeah.
But so that in that step, you could use any color; it can work.
Yeah.
But then at that point where you can make it work, you're trying to pick colors that are going to evoke the sort of emotion that you want to say in the piece. Is a whole other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you're doing your color studies, are you trying out various color combinations and things to or you're kind of just going for the thing you were trying?
I don't really think that much about it. It's more like a feel.
You could photocopy them. You could photocopy your drawing onto multiple panels and then try out various palettes.
Yeah.
And then kind of feel which one is giving you the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I don't, it's funny you're talking about your processes. I never do a finished drawing. Almost never. Yeah. Which is cool. Which is a cool idea. It's a cool, but I do that. I do a thumbnail usually. And then I do a color study and then I do the painting. Yeah. And so I'm kind of getting the values and everything when I'm doing the color study, but it's really, it's a standard way of, tried and true, time tested technique.
It's just figuring out all your drawing problems before you go to the painting.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm sure you've had when you are in the middle of a drawing that you've just or painting, you've just jumped into the painting, you hadn't considered the drawing as much. Sometimes you run into drawing issues where you have to redraw stuff, and it takes a lot of time to repaint that over and over.
Yeah, right.
So it just saves time. But that's same with the color study step. It just saves time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing is I guess I got hooked on the color studies because I kept screwing, I kept jumping too early to the painting, and then it ended up spending time adding things to balance the composition out rather than totally repainting it, and which sometimes would added something that I wouldn't have thought of, which was kind of cool. But more often than not, it just made the painting take way longer, made me get too precious with it, and too overly painted because I was just fixing things. And
what's fun in the oils is if you're the whole thing is kind of too cool, you could glaze alizarin crimson or something on top of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And kind of rub it down, and it'll warm or cool the whole thing by doing these glazes. Which I know can work in acrylics and stuff too, but I think only in oils does it it really has this hauntingly beautiful effect when you glaze.
Yeah.
If something's very cool and you glaze a warm over it, it really has this haunting effect that sometimes even photographing the painting doesn't capture that feeling. And
right.
That you get from doing some of those effects, and in person, it just has such a whole different presence. Yeah, which people need to go check out like real art in person. Like it's and
You gotta see it in person.
one of the things I love about doing all the oddities and curiosity shows and the Monster Palooza, those kind of shows is actually bringing original paintings and people getting to experience
Yeah.
the originals in person rather than just this little JPEG on Instagram.
That's the one thing I hear from more people is like, you have to see it in person. Once they see it, they're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Regarding that glazing thing, I remember I used to do that when I didn't know enough about color theory, that my color palette wasn't
unified.
It wasn't unified because I didn't really know enough about color.
Mm-hmm. It'll fix that for you for sure.
Yeah, so you glaze you glaze it one color over the whole thing, and it unifies the colors, and then you can kind of go, oh, okay, and then you kind of start.
For anyone listening who wants to try it, indigo is the easiest one to do because it comes out of the tube and it looks almost black.
Right.
Like a really good indigo from like an Old Holland or like, a company like that has like really dense like indigo color. Mm-hmm. You can put that on your palette, thin it down with like some liquid, and then literally take a big brush and brush it over your whole painting. Mm-hmm. And your friends will be like, oh my God, what did you do to that? Because it'll be black, right?
Yeah.
But then you can take like a rag and kind of subtly wipe it down and wipe away areas. You can almost like a rub out or a relief. You can get rid of it or leave it in areas as much as you want, and it has this really haunting but also very unifying feeling to the painting.
I'm gonna do that for an Instagram video reel.
You should.
That would be so good. Like have this painting that's like almost
just cover it with indigo.
Just cover it with a dark color, and it'll be like what? And then you wipe it off, and it looks amazing.
I showed it. It was a few years ago, but I showed that process on my Instagram thing, and I had people like freaking out. And then I showed the reveal of like how you. Can
right.
Yeah. It comes out. It does. Indigo comes out of the tube like almost black. Like,
I've never used indigo.
Oh, it's
I've
great.
never used indigo.
Yeah.
Is it like similar to Prussian blue? Because I've used Prussian blue.
It is similar to Prussian blue, but
I got to write that down.
Yeah, it's the tinting strength. In textiles, it's used to like make indigo like fabrics and like jeans and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it comes out. It's like.
Yeah, it's like Prussian blue's kind of like that too.
So
where it's just like
I have this Williamsburg one that I love.
Oh damn! That really. It's like kind of a greenish blue.
Yeah. No. It's. See how that's an actual paint sample on the thing. It's almost black.
Yeah.
But when it comes out of the tube, it's like super dark. It is very similar to like a Prussian.
Okay. I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. It's fun.
Speaking of shop talk, this is the latest thing I've tried. Rublev epoxide oil. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I have that.
You have it?
I have it because someone recommended it, but I haven't played with it very much.
It's just linseed oil that they've messed with on a molecular level to make it dry faster. Yeah. So it doesn't have any dryers in it. And it's not as fast as liquid though. Okay. But it's faster than regular linseed oil.
Has a sort of a different smell, like a mothy kind of
I didn't notice the smell really. Yeah, it just kind of smells weird.
Right?
yeah, it's not like normal linseed oil, but it's not fumey. So that's what it's cool because it's non-toxic, it's natural.
Because no mineral spirits.
Yeah. Or any kind of petroleum distillates like liquid has. Yeah. Liquid is like the workhorse. It will dry the next day. No question.
It's also toxic as hell.
But it's toxic. And I remember one time, it's like I never had a problem. And 2 times I've had like a weird reaction where I started getting high when I was working on a big painting in here. And the last one I was seeing, let me show you this shape. I was watching the new season of True Blood. No, not True Blood. The one about where they're in Alaska. It was kind of like The Thing, the last episode on HBO. It was like the murder mystery in Alaska.
Are you talking about the detective one?
True Detective? True Detective, yeah. I was watching that. I was painting this big painting, and for some reason I did the underpainting with liquid, or I did something liquid all over it. I forget why. But I started seeing a shape like this out of the corner of my eye, like pixelated. Oh. Like this. Like a Tetris
Yeah,
It was so weird.
that is weird.
And it's like not that's not good.
Well, when you have just a little bit on your palette, the liquid just a little bit on your palette, and you're just tapping your brush and then like mixing, and then like doing, we paint sort of similar, in that we're doing like little passes over and over of like little detailed areas, right? Like mini layers. And so when you're doing that little work here, you're not creating this big fumey like thing. But when you're painting bigger and
you're painting a big wide area, that's when it's just like, woo,
or you're glazing like a whole big area. That's when it really off gases a lot. And you got to set that painting in another room and let it kind of like air out first.
Yeah. When I saw that weird shape at the corner of my eye, I'm like, okay, this is the last time I'm doing this.
Or if you notice yourself coughing a lot, that's another sign that you're like too much in the room.
Yeah, it's the other time I did it when I was painting that I Want You painting, which is like a 30 by 40 painting. And I just was like, whoa, I started feeling really high, like, and not in a good way. But anyway, epoxide oil, I'm experimenting with that. Because
Rublev company is great. They're in
natural pigment stuff.
I want to say like Winnie or something, little north of me, California.
Oh, that's right. They're Northern California. Yeah.
And he also does the oleo gel and the oleo res gel, which feels. The oleo gel is just linseed oil and silica, or like a glass that's been ground up.
Yeah.
So if you have that on your palette, it also it has that thixotropic kind of nature like liquid does, but it doesn't have the drying speed.
Right.
But if you want to get liquid off your palette but still have it feel the same, that oleo gel like does a good job of like feeling like that. It just won't dry as fast.
Yeah, yeah. So what are you using? Are you a liquid guy?
I'm doing all liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I go back and forth. I know a lot of painters. You were actually mentioning this to me about like doing it like with just straight out of the tube, like no mediums and stuff. But I feel like you also then have to start choosing your paints very carefully for when you do that, because a lot of the paints that I'm using, like Gamblin and Old Holland and stuff, are fairly thick coming out of the tube. And so I'm also relying on the liquid to thin.
Right. Yeah.
To thin stuff down. And like Rublev, the natural pigments, some of the tubes and stuff that they make are just linseed oil and the pigment, and just enough to like get them to like work. And they come out a little softer. Sennelier makes a nice paint that also comes out a little softer. I feel like that would lend itself to more of that out of the tube kind of painting. Right. But sometimes paint manufacturers, like some of the paints are just too thick to.
Yeah.
I can't get my little details if I can't down enough, but
definitely. But yeah, I guess what I haven't switched to straight oil, but what I have started to do is, like when I first started using liquid, when I was first painting, you know how it is. You're trying to get you have limited time to paint, so you want the thing dry the next day, so that when you after work you can work on it still or whatever. And so I was like liquid in every layer, probably using too much liquid back in the day before I knew any better. Always using liquid, always have, and it's great because it dries. But now I'm doing like, I use liquid only if I need to thin something, and a lot of times I don't need to thin the paint. And if I don't need to thin it, I just use straight oil.
Yeah.
So it's only when I need to thin it, but it's also you have to change your technique. It's like it's not going to be dry the next day. So it's for commissions, it's good. Not when not for a show where you're on a deadline, but if you're on a commission that's kind of like, okay, I can set it aside for a couple days. That's why I'm trying this epoxide oil.
Cool.
And I did a little study with it, and it's been 2 days, and it finally, the ivory black, I had a black background. The ivory black finally dried after 2 days. So it's like a day or two.
You can switch to Mars black. Dries a little faster.
Oh, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a more natural earth pigment.
Okay.
Just like all those, I call them dirt colors.
Yeah, earth colors.
All the dirt colors. They dry really fast, right?
That.
Like so Mars.
Yeah, burnt umber.
All the siennas, the yellow ochres, like all those things dry like way faster because they're just dirt and linseed oil, right?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that about Mars. That's cool. I thought Mars was too.
It's warm. It's a
Is it
warmer.
yeah, it's warmer, but it's very oily too, and it kind of dries matte, isn't that?
It does dry matte.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is fine. I just never got in the habit of using it for some reason.
Since we're on shop talk, do you ever, do you ever oil out like in between the things to unify the surface? I've never done it, just because I feel like since I use so much liquid that the surface kind of feels the same anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes when you're not using liquid, some things will be shinier and drier just because the natural whatever pigments kind of natural look is, and so sometimes you have to like oil out over the whole thing and then kind of wipe it down so that it all equally has the same amount of oil, like sort of in the surface. Yeah. Do you have to do that when you're not using the liquid as much?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. That's the same thing with liquid. It was never even an issue, as well as fat over lean is not an issue at all when you're just using liquid. It's like it's all good. But
for almost all kinds of painting, the going from the dark toward the light will help you every single time, because the darks dry faster, and the thing that takes the longest to dry are the white highlights. So working all the darks first, and then also thinner paint in the darks and thicker paint as you get towards the surface will always help you.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
it always sells the realism basically too.
What's that?
It always helps sell the realism too, because the shadows seem like kind of like, you know, like in the depths, and then the lights are very crisp.
Yeah, transparent shadows and opaque highlights, you know, is kind of the way things look in reality. Yeah. So anyway, it's like I never have been able to switch to straight linseed oil because it just felt like it would take too long to dry, and I have messed with it, and it was always took too long. And so I'm hoping this epoxide oil will be dry fast enough to where I can work with it.
I was always nervous about the alligatoring with just using oil. Like if you get too much oil in there, and you're not observing the fat over lean because you don't know like how much you had put in a layer. Like underneath, when you put a thinner layer on top, it'll crack, or what they call alligatoring, where it has this like this weird kind of like alligator skin effect that the painting all kinds of like pulls to.
Papery kind of wrinkle.
Yeah, so I was always nervous that some shit was going to happen. Like,
I know. They get you.
And then they say sometimes if you add too much liquid, that there can be a delamination from the substrate.
Yeah,
but I've never seen that happen.
No,
because I always have a very strong mechanical bond. I've been painting a lot on Dibond panel lately.
That's what I switched to.
It's great stuff, but you really have to sand that surface so that it gets like a lot of tooth, and then gesso, and then the gesso has a lot of tooth, and then the paint can stick to the gesso. It's a super strong mechanical bond with all of those teeth like interlocking, I feel like. Whereas I feel like the delamination stuff happens from people painting on panels that they haven't varnished or haven't sanded down to get that mechanical bond. Yeah. And I think it's just peeling off because the surface is too slick.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you buy those masonite panels from a store and they're pre-gessoed, but the gesso has a sort of a slickness to it.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And I always have to sand those down.
Yeah.
So usually I just buy everything raw and then prep it myself.
Yeah, that's what I do, because I can buy these 4x8 sheets of ACM panel for $100, and so it's
cheap.
Just like, so
and I know the trick is like somebody like a Raymar or somebody who does those, you know, makes the little art panels that are the art. They charge so much for those little panels when a whole 4x8 sheet is like $60 or something.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about having something that is really nice, and you can just start painting. Because I spent the weekend working on prepping panels, ACM panels this weekend, and sanding and gessoing.
But you did them all at once, right? Like 10 or so you do a few at a time?
Yeah. I didn't have 10. I'm just doing 3 for right now. But you know, there's a funny thing when you have I prefer to do it when I have the time. It's like pre-bought stuff like that is convenient if you're in a rush. I have no qualms about it. But if I do have the time, I really feel like it's woo-woo kind of, but I feel like when you're preparing the surface and you're putting the work in, it just makes the panel feel more special, and you've almost like got a bond with the panel because you've like prepped it and made the surface just the way you like it. And it sort of lends itself to making a better painting, just at least psychologically. Yeah. You know,
it's also going to make a better painting because you're producing the kind of surface that you want to like anyway. Right. And I tried it, whether it's like the one that's behind me is on a birch panel.
Okay.
It's like a cradled birch panel, but
Okay.
it's a little more texture than I ever want. So I really have to like, I do like a hand orbital sander, and I'll like,
Yeah, I just got one of those. Yeah.
isn't that a game changer?
Yeah, yeah.
I was doing it by hand with 400 grit sandpaper like forever,
Yeah.
and getting the like $90 like little Makita orbital sander has changed my life.
Is yours the kind that spins and shakes or just yeah, that's what I got.
So
And
it spins, and it also like it just the thing velcros on and off.
yeah, yeah. And it vibrates too. It spins and vibrates. It's
and
great.
it has a little dust collector thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have got it a long time ago, but now you just you
know.
run that across the thing as many times as you want. But
It's so nice.
I try to get that surface, whatever surface it is, whether it's masonite or birch panel or whatever. The end product for me is like I want that surface to feel like it's almost like a vellum Bristol touch that you're drawing on. So it's really smooth, but it has just enough of a tooth that when you draw or paint on it, like it you can see a little texture. Like
Right.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like an eggshell, kind of like it's just super soft.
Are you painting the gesso on with a foam roller or paintbrush?
I'm doing it with a hake brush, and instead of having to sand in between the layers of gesso, what I found is if you you get like a little jar and you put some gesso in there, and then like 50% water to however much gesso you added, and mix that up to this like it feels like a milk-like consistency. And then I'm doing a hake brush, which is
What's
like
a hake brush?
It's a goat hair brush.
Oh, okay.
Like,
hey, is that a skull? Is that a Skull Shop skull?
that is a Skull Shop skull.
All right, shout out to Skull Shop. They're amazing, all right?
They are amazing.
So good.
You know what's crazy is whenever I use this in a painting, and I see Kyle, he'll always be like, "That's item number." He'll
AB
exact skull that I used. Yeah,
It's so funny.
but no. So the hockey brush and like a bunch.
I have one of those brushes. Yeah.
And then it's super soft. So instead of sanding between the layers, I've just found if you make a slurry of like this milk gesso and you softly brush it over the whole thing, it'll dry pretty fast. And then I have to do like 3 or 4 coats for it to like start to slowly build up to be like opaque enough. But I'd rather do that than having to sand in between.
Yeah, sanding's a bitch.
But the other thing too is just to take a bunch of like a trowel and like really coat the shit out of the thing with the gesso and then sand it down to where you want it. But I sometimes feel like that's a waste of gesso, and I'm just wasting like and I'm mostly sanding off a lot of gesso. So I feel like the milky slurry of gesso that gets like softly applied multiple times.
That's interesting. I'll have to try
has
that.
a better feel to it for me but.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to go back with a little bit of hand sanding just to like knock out, because every once in a while this will leave like a couple little hairs.
Yeah.
Like here and there. But
have you tried the Gamblin the oil primer?
So I took a trip I was in Portland for the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, and I emailed them and said, could I come do a studio like visit while I was in town? And they gave me a bunch of stuff as well as a can of that
oh, cool.
primer stuff, but I just haven't had a chance to use it yet.
Same here. I bought some like 2 years ago, and it's just like I've never.
But it's a lead ground, right? Like it's a lead ground.
And you spatulate it on, and then you take a soft brush if you need to. And
kind of knock down the peaks.
Yeah, if there's any like peaks or brush marks, you just kind of brush them out, and it's supposedly like self-leveling. And then you don't sand it because it's lead.
Yeah.
And apparently it's got a tooth to it naturally, which is so weird to me.
And supposedly also the paint colors will kind of soak in a little more and like give it a better mechanical bond.
Oh, okay.
And also it's way more reflective, I heard too.
Oh,
like, you know how in they call it the stained glass window effect in oils, where the light has to travel through all the layers, then hit the white and then bounce back up. And so sometimes it has this glow to it because the light is being captured for so long. Like the coolest way to see it is if you have a painting that's kind of light in the daylight and you shut all the curtains and turn the lights off, for a second after you turn all the lights off, the painting will glow for like a couple seconds. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Yeah,
cool.
That's the stained glass window effect because the light's still traveling back out of the painting.
Wow, that's cool.
But they were saying when I was visiting them that lead ground will give you more of that effect because it has a higher reflective rate back off of the metal.
Huh.
So I don't know if that's true or not because I haven't had a chance to play with it.
Yeah. I need to use it, and I just like every time I think about it, I'm like, I don't have time. I don't know if it's going to take a week.
Oh, for the dry?
Yeah, because it's.
I wouldn't know how long is then safe to start going on top of it, right?
Yeah, I guess if you can push with your fingernail and leave a fingernail mark, it's not dry enough. But lead dries really. Have you ever used lead white?
Yeah.
That's dries fast. That's a quick dryer too on its own.
It's a weird feeling, right?
It's weird. It's so
and like
different.
Yeah.
But it's so cool because it's funny because I don't use it. I still have this prejudice against lead, or I still have like a fear of lead, even though I use cadmiums. And someone was telling me cadmiums are even more toxic than lead. So,
but as long as you're not getting it on your fingers,
I'm not getting it on my fingers or eating it. But still, it's like, you know, if you have to be a little extra careful about it.
Yeah. Are you painting in gloves?
No.
No, I don't need it.
I hate gloves. I don't know how people do it.
I did for a really long time because of that protection, like sort of thing. I thought like whatever, but then I noticed that like my hands would just sweat all the time. It was terrible. Like
it's just not comfortable. Someone was telling me, some artist was saying they used that liquid gloves. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, like a barrier cream?
Yeah. And apparently that's pretty good. But I don't have trouble. Like Gabe Leonard uses gloves because he's just his brush handles are all covered with paint, and he's just a messy painter in that way.
Well, a bigger painter too, right? Like so. The paintings are big, so you're pushing around a lot of stuff.
Right.
I feel like when I'm just doing this little.
Yeah. Right. I've always been so conscious about letting paint get in my hands because I was super paranoid about it. So I don't really have an issue. I got my little paint scrubs. The scrubs in a bucket down here. If any paint gets on my fingers, I immediately am wiping it off, and so I'm good with that. But what I love about the lead white is the how it's not so overpowering when you mix it in with other colors. You know, that's why that's apparently why the old masters used to use it, or why it's the best. You still
then use titanium white to touch your like super high highlights.
Yeah, if you need it, but you know, the idea being like with the old masters is that you mostly are mixing white in with almost every color, or the majority of the colors you're mixing white, and if it's lead white you're mixing, that will give you the strongest paint film possible because lead white has the strongest out of all the colors, so everything's infused with lead white for the most part, except for your dark glazes and stuff like that. So
and it dries faster too.
Yeah, and it works like a dryer too, so you can kind of use it without dryers and it'll dry. So it's great stuff. I know I should use it more, but I don't know. I'm always like
just stuck on the mental idea of like
like scraping it. If I scrape it, if I let it dry on my panel and I scrape it, and you know, because paint flakes off when I'm scraping my. It's just a matter of being a little more careful with it.
And then you're like, even if after you're done for the day and you wipe it up, like now I have a rag with lead on it. Like, is that bad? Like, yeah.
I have a fire trash can. You know, those red. Sorry.
It's fine.
Swallowed the coffee the wrong way. The fire cans.
Yeah.
You know, because. I got it years ago. I got it during the pandemic, actually, but because anything
it just keeps oxygen from getting to the rag, right? Because if you have like linseed oil on a rag, and it's left in the heat, it can spontaneously combust.
Yeah, right. So I've always been, you know, I've been painting 20 years on. I've never had that happen, but it's like I hardly ever use it, only if there's something really soaked, you know. But it's nice to have.
I usually just use it as an interim, like it goes in that can because that can's next to the easel, and then later, like I dump the whole thing into the garbage can.
Yeah, that's why I usually paint. I'm painting right here, and I'm like when I'm using paper towels or whatever, I just throw them on the ground, roll them up, throw them on the ground, throw them on the ground until the pile gets so big that I pick them up and put them in the fire can thing. It's just like I'm just so like that, or it's just. I don't want to think about being neat when I'm painting. I just want to focus on the painting, you know, let myself be kind of a slob.
Yeah. We were talking about when we had dinner the other day and we were talking about schedules and stuff. Do you find that that's an ever changing thing too? The way you schedule your day?
Yeah. I can't keep, I mean, I try, I continuously try and keep a schedule, but like now I'm going to bed at about midnight.
Yeah.
Or 1.
You know that saying about like what is it? It's God laughs at plans or something. Like, yeah. It's like every time I try to like very carefully plan out like my what I call the production schedule.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this number of pieces each week, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to paint at this time, and I'm going to work out at this time. And like, every time I feel like yes, this is good, like this is going to work, and then when a rubber meets the road, and I actually have my day of trying to do like a million other things come up, and I'm just it's hard.
Yeah, that's what that's what it's like for people who have to work for a living. It's like if you're independently wealthy, that would be fine. You could probably have a perfect schedule because nothing's gonna. If something comes up, you have someone else deal with it that's hired to deal with it, and But for the rest of us, the 99%. But and the other thing is that I think people don't understand is that art is weird in the sense that you have your technique, you have your way of working, and it gives you a ballpark idea of how long something's going to take. But sometimes, you have a day where nothing's happening. You keep working at it and it's not working.
Yeah.
And I always say that, for 4 hours of painting time, it's like the first maybe 2 hours or sometimes even 3 hours, sometimes 1 hour, but you'll get more done in the last hour than you did in the first three, where it all finally starts clicking and you're like, oh, I'm feeling it. That's the problem with me is I'm painting at night. And then if I get in that flow, I'm like, I can't just stop and then tomorrow I'll pick that flow up again. No way. It took me like 2 hours to get into that flow. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, I can't, once you're in there, it's like, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is when the paintings are good. I also want to have this done so I can paint it tomorrow. And it's like, okay, pretty soon it's 1 or 2 in the morning. Yeah. And I got to get up at 8 still.
Do you have any tricks to get into that flow state though? Because sometimes, if you, sometimes setting the palette out, and laying out the colors, mixing up whatever, like sometimes you get to that part and you're like, well, now I have to paint because I laid everything out.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so sometimes there's tricks to like, trick yourself into like getting working.
That's, like, I found that with, since I've been recording my paintings in real time and then editing them down to time lapse. Like I have this camera that I use for the podcast is also, you can see it's aimed at my easel, so I can just adjust it. And I hit record. I'm recording both things through OBS. And so once I hit the record button, it's more of a hassle when you have to edit together clips. So so it forces me to sit longer.
Keep working.
Yeah, and figure out and like get more in that zone more quickly. But I always have like I haven't listened to music in forever. I always watch movies when I paint. Yeah. Like I always have them on in the background. I really enjoy so much fun.
Because you're by yourself all day. I really enjoy the dialogue just happening in the background. Mm-hmm. It's somehow comforting or whatever just to have the. And the thing I've been listening to a ton is old Hitchcock shows.
Oh yeah, that show was so good.
Because you don't really have to watch too much. All of the stuff, like all of the back and forth, is in the dialogue. Mm-hmm. So it's great to just have. And I love their old timey accents and stuff too.
Oh that show was awesome. And documentaries are good for that too because it's mostly like talk. It's mostly talking and stuff. Did you watch my favorite Alfred Hitchcock episode? I forget what it's called, but it is so cool. It's the guy who. He's like realizes someone's impersonating him, and he like he comes into work, and the secretary's like, "You were just here. What are you doing?" And he looks, and there's a cigar burning in his thing, like someone, and he's like, "You haven't seen that one?"
No.
Okay, I don't want to spoil it. I will.
I've been going. There's a million seasons, so
you have to see back this
and, like,
one.
Watching it from the beginning, so
I just thought it had the coolest twist ending. It was like, I forget the name of it. It's like a
the old Twilight Zone episodes are great too.
Yeah. Those are classic. It's just I've seen those so many times because they're so good. They're just brilliant. But it's hard to, you burn out on things and then you have to wait a few years before you watch them again. Like I'm just doing The Sopranos again right now because, it's been enough time to where I can watch it again and be like, oh, this is so great.
So sometimes I'll put on just a show, like I'm not like paying attention much at all, but the show has like sort of a eerie like a sense or something that like kind of fills the room with like an atmosphere that I want to kind of project or feel while I'm working on something.
Yeah. Especially horror movies.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's a series on Netflix called The Dark or Dark. Something.
Oh yeah, my kid keeps telling me to watch that.
Oh, it's so good. So yeah, I wasn't into it at first, and then I just let it play in the background, and then I got really into it.
And Christopher Ulrich also told me it's like
it's really
love
good.
that show. Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it before it gets.
I feel like that's another thing that we all like share back and forth around, like audiobooks and shows and different things that like just the stuff that we're listening to like while we're working. Like that's one of the things that immediately comes out whenever you talk to any other artist is like, oh, what are you watching? What are you listening to?
Yes, that is a cool thing too about this community we have of artists that know each other, is like sharing stuff like that. You know, I think that's why I think it would be beneficial to people. People that are even just like amateur painters, you know, start your own little community. The community aspect, I think, is really great.
Yeah.
And you can do that in no matter where you live. If you're in a small town, especially with the internet, you can hook up with other artists, even that are just doing it for fun. So you can share ideas and text back and forth.
And if there are no places to show, you can create a place to show.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A bookstore, even a bar or something. Like anybody who will let you throw some stuff up on the wall.
Yeah, for sure.
When you were first starting and doing all the shows and stuff, would you go to all the openings also?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I did that. I mean, I still try and go. I go to shows I'm in.
Yeah.
I always go to shows I'm in if it's local.
But would you go to like the art walk or the things or like whatever it was in the different community that you were like, you know?
Oh yeah.
Even if you weren't in the show.
Yeah. Okay. I used to, when I was first starting out, every Cannibal Flower I pretty much went to, you know, or any show with like a bigger named artist that you're aspiring to be like, you know, and just getting to know people there.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, there's a lot of places that show. You'd be surprised, and especially that like those small towns are the places that need this kind of art too. It's like there's other people out there, you just haven't connected with them. And it's like if you set up a little show somewhere in some small town, you're going to find it's going to attract the people that you need to know.
Any excuse for like-minded people to get together.
Yeah, and we got to, you know, especially in these times, it's like a good time for us to all be supporting each other, you know?
Totally.
Well, so what are you working on now? What's the
piece behind me, the cicada piece? I had finished another one. It was really nice. Elliot invited me to be in the museum show at Monsterpalooza this last year.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
a few months ago or a month ago, whatever that was. And so I did. I had done an earlier cicada piece for that to put in the museum.
Is that the one coming out of the back?
Yeah. And they got a really good response. People were really excited. They would come to the table and be like, "Oh, we saw your piece in the museum." So
cool.
I was like, "Oh, cool!" Like, and I wasn't sure, like, you know, how it was going to be perceived, and people were really into it. So I was like, "I want to do another one of those." And so this one's a little bigger.
One
was
like
size 18 by 24. This one's a 24 by 36.
Yeah, I like that size.
Which I like that size too, but it's funny that 18 by 24 to 24 by 36 is kind of like the thing where I'm happy at. It feels a little more substantial, but without being like really crazy big.
Yeah.
But I still have the feeling of when I go to a gallery show, it's a postage stamp on the wall.
I know.
compared to some paintings sometimes.
I know, but I've been when I was first showing, when I first started getting kind of popular and had my first solo show, I was like 24 by 30 is my size.
Yeah.
And that's actually not that big now, you know? But the thing is, I've been doing 18 by 24s lately.
I like that size.
Yeah. And that's a good size because it's easier to sell because they're not going to be super expensive at 18 by 24. And the bigger you get, the higher the price. So, you know, I've got a couple group shows I'm in. That's what I was and a commission, I was priming those panels, and it's like 18 by 24 is a good, safe kind of middle of the road where it's not going to be super expensive, but it's big enough to not be like, you know, 8 by 10 or 11 by 14.
Yeah, and for the buyer, they feel like, like I'm getting a substantial painting. Like
Right. Yeah. So
it's not a study or something or a small work.
Yeah. So 18 by 24 is kind of where I'm at these days.
Cool.
Although I would love to paint. I really like painting big, but man, those ones take a while to sell.
And who has room for the?
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing. Is the space issue.
when we go to like Chris Velasco's house, and the paintings have these like this beautiful home where they all get to live together, and it's incredible. But not everybody has that kind of space to like.
Well, he doesn't.
Most people collect smaller pieces,
Yeah, and he doesn't have any more space, so he can't even buy any more art unless he wants to do that thing that some people I've heard do, but I don't know anybody, which is 6 months you take your paintings and you put them in a climate controlled storage unit and take your other paintings that you can't fit and you put them, so every 6 months you're switching your paintings out.
So he has his own show at a curated show at his house of things that he puts out.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't do that, but I've heard that the other rich people do that where they like and I'm always telling them, you gotta, so that he'll start buying again. You gotta get a storage unit. And
rotate them in and out.
Rotate them. It'll be cool. Every 6 months, you'll have new paintings. You can change where they are and stuff. Yeah. That space is. I've been doing sculpture. I've been getting more into sculpture lately again too, and that's another issue with space. It's space.
Yeah.
But I'm doing little things like little tiny.
Oh, nice.
Albert Hoffman.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's inspiring me to do. I think I might do just straight. I'm just like more, it's like I'm still doing my dark stuff. My first love, but I'm so like, I just love doing, like it's like the skull flower thing or this portrait. It's just like, it's Albert Hoffman, the guy who invented LSD.
Nice. Are you thinking of sculpting some of the skull flower pieces?
Yeah. I've got something going to where I want to do those too. But I'm just like, I like that it's not a monster, and it's all about like capturing a likeness, which is so challenging for me.
Yeah. Cool.
So I'm, sort of going backwards, whereas like, because I guess maybe partially because I didn't go to school, because like in school, you're not going to be making monsters. You're going to be doing all the normal stuff and drawing casts and doing life drawing, and it's like I'm kind of did so much of that where I feel like, okay, I've proven myself. I can do.
Do you want to cast those and sell those and stuff, or is the sculpture stuff just for you?
No, I have to make everything count. You know how it is. I have to sell everything. So it's for a bigger commission though. I'm doing like a 3/4 size head, but it's just it's so much fun that it's like thinking all the cool. Like a Beksinski, it'd be so cool to do a Beksinski or a Giger, and it would be so much fun. These I'm just like so enjoying this process.
I saw very cool at Mospalooza. I didn't, like the technology is getting to the point where, I have a friend who's a sculptor, Doug Stannett.
I know. Oh,
he worked
I know him
for a long time. He's great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And he always gives me a hard time because he's like, Steven, I can't print money like you can. He tells me because I can make paintings and then make prints. But
he does one-offs, right?
One-offs always, which are beautiful. I own a couple. We traded for some. Some pieces.
He's great. He's been on the podcast.
So good. But I feel like the technology is getting to the point, and I met a lady at Monsterpalooza who sculpts larger. And then 3D scans it and then prints them as smaller like print things. So the technology is almost there or maybe it's there now.
It is there. Yeah,
where
I know people
you
that
can do the same thing that as painters we got to like make a print of the thing that they get to make a 1-to-1 print of the sculpture. Right.
Yeah. Well, I do that with molds though. Like I'll sculpt this guy and me pouring up casts of this will be like printing paper prints. It's so.
Not quite as fast as like hitting a button, but
yeah, but you got to wait for it to print. So I think resin probably cures faster than it depends on the head, but it's
in a 3D printer.
Yeah. Because I know that like they take time. They're not just. I know. I mean, from what I've heard, they could take hours,
right?
Yeah. Whereas a resin cast, you pour it up and it cures in 15 minutes. You can pull it out of the mold.
Could you sell it like the very next day? Like it's done, it's ready to go. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's great. It's really cool stuff.
Every time I go to Monsterpalooza, I get excited about sculpture, and I buy monster clay and wire and stuff and things. And I have this drawer in the cabinet that's like all the sculpture materials. And Doug was also giving me a hard time because he was like, it doesn't just happen by osmosis. You can't just gather all of the things. It's like you have to put in the work of actually sculpting. But
it's so fun.
I get that bug every time I do that show.
Yeah, it's reignited it. I mean, I was a sculptor mostly in effects. That was my main job. I mean, I was also a painter, but I did more sculpting probably. And so Gabe Leonard has been sculpting. He's doing this Walter White Breaking Bad head, and it's really cool. And so we've been going down with a mutual friend of ours that's interested in sculpting too, and I've been showing him how to make tools, because there's these certain tools that you can't really buy. I found one place you can buy them, but really good rakes and certain types of sculpting tools, but you can make them yourself.
Yeah. Somebody told me to buy old dental tools, so I bought a little pack of like old dental tools.
Those are pretty good. Yeah. But the best ones are like these. I think these rake tools.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that. It's twisted wire. It's like it's music wire, it's called piano wire or music wire.
And that's like carving
steel
away and leaving texture and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like it evens out your surface, and then if you have because if you just smooth with your thumb, it's going to give you like this ripply surface, but you go with the rake after, and it evens it out, and then you can kind of cross hatch the rake marks and get rid of them that way, or smooth. It's a whole process. And this stuff like pet screen, that's like plastic screen door material, is really good for kind of like raking, doing fine rake. Anyway, I've been kind of like going down there and showing them stuff like that, helping them make tools. And then I'm working on this little head, and I had started a skull and stuff. And it's been this thing we've been doing every week or two. I go down to his studio, and it's totally got me back into sculpting again.
Nice.
And so if you want to learn sculpting and you know anyone around you that you're friends with that's an artist that's local, you could set up a sculpting day. It'll get you in the flow. You just got to find someone who wants to sculpt with you.
Are you doing it on that little on a little turnstile thing where you can, or are you just doing it in your hands?
I'm just doing it in my hands because it's so small. But I do have a little Lazy Susan thing that's helpful. Yeah, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. You'll probably love it. I bet you'll love it. It's just the way you paint is suited to sculpture, because you're kind of a type painter, and that's sculpting is kind of like that. And
a couple of times I played with it, my draw, and this is of course is going to happen, but my drawback was like my dexterity in the painting. Expecting to have a 1-to-1 as soon as I started like pushing stuff around, like being able to have that fine of a motor skills with it, and it just was not there.
Yeah, right.
It was kind of a turn off at first, because it was like mush. I
can't do this.
Yeah. And what's funny is my wife and I were both like playing with it at the same time. And she was really good at it. She was like, just making a little skull. And I was like, what? And then like my skill didn't translate. I was like, I couldn't do it like right away. And it was a little frustrating.
But there's this whole aspect of feeling how stiff the clay is and knowing how hard to push and things like that. And how much, when it's really soft, it's a certain softness. And as it cools down, it's harder and you can carve more. There's like all these little feel things. So, yeah, but anyway, Gabe was saying, since he started sculpting, he feels like it's really helped his painting.
Oh,
yeah, because he's something about understanding
in terms of like
three-dimensional forms and stuff. So you should do that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super.
I want to try it for sure.
Yeah, it's really fun. Sculpting.
The thing I think would be most fun is maybe in something softer, but like once you have like a head or something, how sometimes in the paintings, like we are cutting something or having something burst out of, something like to have an actual physical thing that I'm like literally like chopping the top of the head off, like seems super fun.
Yeah.
Or like, collaging things together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You could, that's the cool thing also about sculpting things and molding them, is that you can pour clay into the mold and like use a sculpture you already did and modify it, change the expression on it, or pop the top of the head off and have a bunch of snakes coming out, or whatever you want,
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That seems fun.
It opens up a whole new world. But well, we're already over an hour and a half. So do you have any projects, shows you want to talk about that coming up, or you just kind of
projects? I'm just freelance to like just doing all kinds of stuff. I'm working on some comic pages actually for a company. And
cool. How do you like that?
I enjoy it. I've loved comics since I was a little kid. I've just never like the money wise, comics has always been like a weird.
Yeah, I'm dying to try it though. Man.
Yeah, but I found a couple outlets that are paying for pages and stuff. So like I'm doing some of that. But mostly I'm not sharing any of that stuff yet till it's like farther along. Yeah. But mostly just drawing and painting every week, and then doing shows on the weekend. This is kind of my life.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of conventions and stuff, right?
Yes. So trying to get the word out there. I feel like I'm always flying under the radar and like not quite like having big like kind of hitter exposure. So I'm just hustling with the marketing and getting my stuff out there and so doing all that. Like so, but mostly like every week is like drawing and painting through the week, and then going and showing on the weekend. Whatever opportunity. Sometimes it's comic book shows. I show with the Oddities and Curiosities Expo around. I was in Chicago a few weeks ago, and then Boston before that.
Wow.
Next month I'll be in San Jose.
Cool.
And then New Orleans actually next month too. I'll be in New Orleans for the Oddities Expo.
Wow.
So those guys go all over the place, and Toronto and Australia now too. So
crazy.
But I'm not doing the international ones quite yet.
Yeah.
But they have branched out to doing Canada and Australia, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. Is it where do people go to? Where do you have your schedule up? Is it on your website?
Yeah. So just StephenRussellBlack.com. Okay. And then the most up-to-date thing is I'm always constantly posting to Instagram.
Okay. Do you have an email list?
I do. Yeah. If you go to StephenRussellBlack.com and then hit newsletter, you can sign up for it there. And then there's also a link to my Patreon as well.
Oh, excellent.
So anybody on I try to put if I have a new original or new something, I try to post it to the Patreon first.
Yeah.
So people who have access there can buy things before.
We save the best stuff for our patrons that are willing to pay a minor 100%. Amount of money.
Yes.
We do it for them first.
That Patreon can be a make or break. It's a big deal. It's a big
yeah. It's huge. It's like the only for sure money I have every month.
Yeah.
Is the Patreon. I love my patrons. They're the best. All right. So, well, man, it was so great to talk to you. Super fun. I could keep going for another 2 hours talking shop, but I'm going to let you go and get back to your cicada.
Right on.
And I got to get ready because my roof is happening this week, finally. So that's exciting. People who listen to the podcast know my roof almost blew off. So it's finally getting done, everybody. I'm excited. But thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Super great talking to you, and don't hang up once I stop recording.
Okay.
And then you just got to do the goodbye thing where you say goodbye to everybody in the way you want to say goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.